our Executive Director, East African Business Council, will give opening remarks. Then we'll have opening remarks from East African Community Secretariat, which we work closely with, especially this, most of the directorates. Then we'll have opening remarks from Continental Free Trade Area, CFTA Secretariat. And then we will go to a key presentation, from the Secretariat of CFTA on how we can position our entrepreneurs on to take advantage on CFTA, and of course to give a presentation on the newly adopted and concluded protocol on youth and women. Then we'll have a panel discussion, but most importantly, we have our young entrepreneurs that will be giving success stories, those that have traded across the border, that have traded under CFTA, that are doing cross-border business. They will be giving us their success, and of course, they will be also giving us on how their journey. And we have also some partners that will be giving us, telling us on how to have access to finance, especially having been the challenge, especially for our entrepreneurs. So we are just about to start. Let's say 10:15, we'll be starting our webinar. Thank you for tuning in. I can see the ED, the CEO, East African Business Council, and Bosco Carissa has already joined us. I see Dr. Maggie Kigozi, Director, Crown Beverages Limited, partner. I can see our speakers have joined. I will be introducing them to you. Let's just give ourselves like 5 minutes or 3 minutes from now, then we start. Thank you.
Moses, I suggest we start. Huh?
All right, Edie.
Can't hear you, Moses.
Yes. Good morning once again, dear participants and colleagues that have joined us for this wonderful webinar on how the East African community and across African SMEs can reap the advantages of CFTA. And today, I'm not going to speak a lot because we have speakers. We have the program that I'm going to pass through. We have the welcoming opening remarks from Mr. John Bosco Karisa, the Chief Executive Officer, East African Business Council. We'll be having the opening remarks from East African Community Secretariat that will be delivered by Mr. Donald Tindamanyiri, who is representing Ms. Ubsinja Flavia, Director Customs and Trade. Then we'll be having remarks from Ms. Gemma Matinduso, who is the Regional Economic Communities Coordination at CFTA Secretariat. Then from there, we'll be having a key presentation from CFTA Secretariat. Then there we'll have a panel discussion on how to position EAC SMEs and youth entrepreneurs to reap advantages of CFTA. Propose strategies for successful implementation of CFTA Youth and Women in Trade Protocol. Then from there, we'll share experiences for young entrepreneurs that have traded under CFTA and are trading across border trade. I will be your moderator. My name is Moses Ganyesije, and I coordinate SMEs, Youth and Women at East African Business Council Secretariat. Without taking much time, allow me to invite Mr. John Bosco Karisa, our Executive Director, Chief Executive Officer at East African Business Council, to welcome us officially by giving his opening remarks. Mr. CEO.
Thank you very much, Moses, and a very good morning to everyone, especially our board directors present, EABC members, our partners, GIZ, CFTA Secretariat, EWIB. We have our sister from Trade Smart Africa. We also appreciate the support garnered through Afrexim Bank. Indeed, we are organizing this webinar to share insights on how best our small, medium enterprises can take advantage and harness the opportunities provided under the Continental Free Trade Area. I always say that this is a new dawn for Africa. It is one of the flagship projects under Africa we want. So the CFTA becomes a game changer in the sense that it is the largest free trade area since the creation of the World Trade Organization by the number of participating countries. Almost 54 countries have signed the agreement. 47 out of 54 have ratified the agreement. That means that almost 85% we can start trading we can start trading under this agreement. And when you look at the agreement and look at the population, we are talking about 1.3 billion population and growing at an impressive rate. By next year, we will be talking about 1.4 billion population, Africa population. And by 2050, a quarter of the world population will be in Africa. So what does it mean? It means that we need to take advantage of this demographic dividend, take advantage of our youth, growing youth, very dynamic, very enthusiastic in terms of driving the growth we want. Again, when you look at the combined GDP under the CFTA, we are talking about 3.4 trillion US dollars. And that's big. And we are very excited as the East African Business Council that we need to take advantage or harness this market, big market, in terms of taking advantage of various initiatives prepared by the CFTA Secretariat, but also prepared by our region, EAC. I'm happy colleague Donald will be presenting or giving remarks in terms of our level of preparedness as a region to take advantage of this wider market. And I also I want to draw my remarks on this on the SME landscape in the EAC. And I was looking at the number. SMEs constitute approximately 90% of our business or traders in EAC, contributing around 60% of employment and 50% of our gross domestic product. It is one of the segment, one of the sector that is very critical, very diverse, with a lot of innovation, with a lot of creativity, and very excited that this agreement, the CFTA, does recognize the role played by SMEs in terms of driving growth, in terms of driving job creation, in terms of poverty reduction. And that's why, as EABC, we are at the forefront in terms of how do we prepare our SMEs to take advantage. And I'm happy under Guided Trade Initiative, a number of SMEs across the region are already taking advantage of the CFTA. We've seen SMEs from Rwanda exporting coffee to Ghana. We've seen SMEs from Kenya exporting tea from Kenya. We've seen SMEs from United Republic of Tanzania exporting spices. And we'll be listening to some of our exporters, including those exporting sisal. So, and the others in Uganda have started preparing how best to access the market. So the level of preparedness is very critical. The market has already been negotiated. The instruments have already been prepared, including how to navigate non-tariff barriers. But the challenge and the discussion is that are the SMEs prepared in terms of products? And that is why we have this webinar. Are we ready? When you speak to a number of SMEs, some are not yet ready to leverage the advantage provided by the CFTA. And our role as EABC, as EAC, because the role of government is creating a neighboring environment for SMEs to drive growth, for SMEs to drive prosperity. So that's where we are coming up to look at what are those binding challenges that may impact our SMEs to take advantage of the CFTA. So speaking to some of the SMEs across the region, we've noted some of the challenges that we need to highlight. One, as I mentioned, lack of information about CFTA and how to trade across borders, our borders, how to navigate customs procedures, how to look at the rules of origin. I always say the rules of origin is a passport for the product, as we use passports to cross our borders, but is the rules of origin simple, transparent, and predictable? So we need to bring to the speed our SMEs in terms of the in terms of the rules of origin. We need to look at the documentation that is required. We need to look at how to handle logistics and payment mechanism. And also we need to dive deeper and negotiate. I'm happy we've been engaging, as EABC has engaged AfCFTA Bank. They have come up with the Export Development Fund, and we'll be doing through Expertise France and the GIZ, we'll be doing a lot of sensitization around the fund. Access to finance has been one of the daunting challenges, one of the big challenges affecting SMEs to take advantage of trade preferences or trade liberalization agenda. But more important, when you look at to the CFTA and other protocol we have negotiated, the issues of standards, issues of SMEs, the coordination among trade facilitation agencies has been one of the challenges. And what we are going to advocate as the East African Business Council is that we need to create a seamless environment for SMEs that are trading under the CFTA. And we've been negotiating for a green lane for the goods produced in the EAC should not be mingled with imported goods. And I'm happy a number of our policymakers, our leaders are taking that advantage. I know taxes is very important for our economies, but it is also important to grow the business before you collect taxes. So with that, I think we are also engaging and working closely with the CFTA Secretariat to look at those regional value chain where the continent has both comparative and competitive advantages. So far, we've identified around 10 value chain. One is the agro-processing value chain. We are looking into pharmaceutical value chain. We are looking at the transport and the logistics value chain. We are also working around. We're also working around the creative sector. Is also a very, very, very important sector that we need to bring on board. And as we move forward, I think so we are moving quite well with regard to trading services, and I will be doing through support from GIZ. EABC will be diving deeper into those services, the service of schedules and the commitment. We've liberalized to see that we ensure that the restrictiveness, those barriers that impede us or impact us on trading services are eliminated. So with that, I think I'll be sharing more insight during the panel discussion. But as East Africa, as the EABC, we are at the forefront of the CFTA, and we will continue to take a leading role in terms of awareness creation. We'll take a key role in terms of making this trade facilitation instrument clear, simple, user-friendly, and we'll continue to guide our SMEs as well as our corporates in terms of taking advantage of this exciting agreement. So with that, allow me to wish you a fruitful deliberation, and you officially launch and open this webinar. Asanteni sana, God bless you all.
Thank you so much, ED, for those opening remarks. Let me now, without taking much time, I invite Mr. Donald Tindamanyire. Donald Tindamanyire is the Principal Customs Officer, Tariffs and Rules of Origin at East African Community Secretariat, to give us opening remarks. Donald.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Moderator. Can you hear me, Moses?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, on behalf of
maybe if you are in a good position, you can put on your video so that we see you.
Okay. Yeah, so on behalf of the EAC Secretary General, we are pleased to be invited by EABC to this important webinar And as the community, we take note that the greatest asset is human resources, and therefore mobilization and effective involvement of all East Africans, which include men, women, and youth, for economic development is the key regional aspiration and major instrument of development. Yet the participation of women and youth in the EAC economies is guided by the commitments at the regional, national, and international levels. The two groups are mostly involved in the businesses, as highlighted by CEO, in which are micro or small in size, and the majority of youth and women are mainly engaging in informal sectors. And the last study on the implementation of the EAC simplified trade regime indicated that 80% of the cross-border traders is covered by women and youth. While implementing the EAC Customs Union Protocol as well as the Common Market Protocol, we have noted a number of challenges facing the two groups, which include, among others, access to information on trade agreements negotiated by EAC with third parties and the resultant business opportunities. But we have also noted that we lack available mechanism for facilitating cross-border trade for SMEs, including women and youth. But we also note that women and youth are also facing the challenges of inadequate financial support. But in some partner states, we also have the challenge of trade quotas, which are supposed to indicate opportunities and conditions of supply. We also have an issue in terms of the capacity building and also simplified guides on trade facilitation requirements, such as standard and the SPS. But also, last but not least, the region has always been facing a number of non-tariff barriers which impact the free movement of goods as well as persons. Now, as the community, we have adopted an enabling policy framework in order to promote participation of women and youth, and these include the EAC simplified trade regime, where originating goods worth not more than 2,000 USD are accorded simplified certificate of origin for goods which originate in the community, whereby we see that our cross-border traders are assisted by customs in filling the certificate of origin, and also the simplified trade certificate of origin is issued at no cost. But while implementing the STR, we have noted STR challenges, which are being addressed through elimination of STR-related NTB with the active participation of small cross-border traders, but also as the community we have insisted installing billboards, but also displaying the list of common traded goods in all OSBPs, and also translating the simplified trade regime documents into border languages in order to make it easier for our trading community to understand the opportunities accorded to them. But also as the community, we have been undertaking capacity building initiative in all our OSBP, and this has been done in a collaboration with the Informal Cross-Border Traders Association and the other SMEs stakeholders group, including EABC. Now at AfCFTA level, in order for EAC to achieve the desired results on EAC and SMEs. As the community, we need to leverage on the EAC trade environment. And this include, among others, implementation of the EAC single custom territory, trade facilitation initiative, as well as the SME promotion and industrialization policy and strategy. As highlighted earlier, the AfCFTA protocol on women and youth in trade was recently adopted by the AU Assembly and highlights areas for member states to address, such as access to finance, trade facilitation improvement, market access under the simplified trade regime, gender-based discrimination, gender-discredited data collection, digital trade, government procurement, and etc. Now, as the community, in order to undertake measures to harness transformative opportunities, the community has done quite a number of initiatives, such as harmonizing trade policies. And then we have also implementing trade facilitation and information in order to give access to information to our trading community. But also as the community, we have identified key priority sectors which we need to promote. But also the community has emphasized the need of private sector engagement through working closely with apex bodies such as EABC in order to address the challenges faced by our trading community. But also as the community, we have undertaken sensitization and capacity building initiative on the AfCFTA protocol and its documents and the annexes to enable our active participation of our trading community. Further to that, as the community, we have embraced digitization and e-commerce, where we have embarked on the implementation of the regional e-commerce strategy in order to embrace digital technologies and e-commerce platform that it can simplify trade procedures and cross-border payments and reduce bureaucracy. We believe this will enable businesses to reach broader continental market and enhance the ease of doing business within the region and between EAC countries. So at this juncture, allow me to wish colleagues and the delegates fruitful engagement, and we look forward for an interactive dialogue and more insights on how MSMEs, majority being women and youth, can benefit under the AfCFTA. Thank you, and I wish to submit.
Many thanks, Mr. Donald Tindamanyire, the Principal Customs Officer, Tariff and Rules of Origin, for your kind remarks and for highlighting what EAC Secretariat and its partners are doing to facilitate SMEs, especially women, on cross-border trade, especially highlighting what you're doing under STR, Simplified Trade Regime, tax harmonization, and training on CFTA. I'm not sure whether Madam Gemma is already around, who is representing the CFTA Secretariat. If you're already tuned in, just raise your hand so that I can see you. Because I cannot see you, but if you're around, let me know. You can inbox me. And of course, we take time off, we take note of time difference. because she's based in Ghana, Accra, and now it's early in the morning. So maybe she'll be joining us as we move on. So I think I will skip number 2 on the agenda, which was key presentation from CFTA, especially, okay, I see the hand from Wambugu. Wambugu, you can you can unmute, you can give Wambugu a hand so that she can
You can use the mic now.
Wambugu. Wambugu, unmute. Unmute yourself, Wambugu. Wambugu wa Gichohi, kindly unmute. I see your hand up. Wambugu, unmute and speak. All right. Let's continue. Let's now go to a panel discussion. As we wait for the representative from the Secretariat, CFTA to come in because of time. Let's now go to panel discussion. And panel discussion will be looking at how to position EAC SMEs, youth entrepreneurs to reap advantages of CFTA, and propose strategies for successful implementation of CFTA youth and women in protocol. And on the panel, our panelists will be Mr. John Bosco Karisa, the Chief Executive Officer at East African Business Council. Then we are supposed to have Prudence, who is represented by Ms. Gemma, but Ms. Gemma is not yet here. Then we'll have Mr. Donald, who will represent the Secretariat of EAC Community. And we have Ms. Loz Lona. Ms. Lona is the founder, Trade Smart Consult, and an international trade expert, especially on gender and youth. Then we have Ms. Nancy Amoga, founder and CEO, Danaida Limited. So it will be taking us 30 to 40 minutes on this conversation. So I will start with Mr. John Bosco Karisa on this panel to give us, to open. And I'm told Ms. Gemma is around, but I can't see you. Ms. Gemma, just type for me and let me know the name you are using. Okay. So let's start with Mr. John Bosco Karisa, the Chief Executive Officer, East African Business Council. I will give us the overview. Of how the private sector EAC has taken advantages of trading under CFTA, especially on guided trade initiative.
Thank you, Moses. And again, well done to Donald in terms of highlighting some of the initiative at the EAC level in terms of supporting the SMEs to take advantage. And indeed, as he rightly mentioned, SMEs remain the backbone of our economies. And as I highlighted, They contribute to almost 90% of the trade in the EAC region, contribute around 60% of employment creation, and 29% to our GDP. So SMEs do drive innovation, social integration, and economic development. So as a region, we've piloted the instruments prepared under the CFTA, and as you put it, Moses, 3 out of 7 that are now currently trading under the CFTA, they are coming from East Africa, Rwanda, Republic of Kenya, Tanzania, and also recently Uganda joined. So I think the region is well prepared, well positioned to take advantage of the wider market. And what we've been doing as the EABC, again, I want to thank and appreciate our donors, development partners, GIZ, Trademark Africa, AfCFTA Bank, Expertise France, and others who are really supporting us to raise awareness. So far as EABC, we've raised awareness. We've done a lot of training to almost to the tune of 1,000 SMEs, taking them or navigating them through the trade facilitation instruments. As Donald mentioned, looking at the simplified trade regime, looking at the rules of origin, looking at standards and SPS measures, and also engaging a number of banks, such as the Equity Bank, KCB also, and other banks across the region, to provide a kind of a tailor-made instruments, financial instruments for our SMEs. So as a region, but also above all, we are preparing in terms of as EABC, we've launched through the support of International Trade Center. We do have a web or a portal called the My Isoko platform, where SMEs can get information about the CFTA or trading across borders. And that under My Isoko, we've really showcased some of the products, some of the instruments that SMEs can access while they are trading under the CFTA. So there are a number of initiatives we are continuing to deepen, roll out, providing information to all the traders, and we are working closely with the CFTA Secretariat and the EAC. So and as perhaps I highlighted, we at the EABC, we do have a dedicated desk and a dedicated officer responsible for youth and women. And Moses, that is his role, and he has been doing quite commendable work in terms of engaging SMEs. But we're also working with URID, where we are bringing more than 10,000 youth across Africa in terms of understanding the opportunities provided by the CFTA, but as well as the regional economic communities. We continue to deepen our partnership, and we recently initiated a very good platform, East Meet West, East Africa business, especially women, championed by women, what we call East Meet West. West African women interacting, networking, and also showcasing some products in East Africa, but also East Africa also going exporting some of the product, meeting or networking with their counterpart in West Africa. So that is the way to go. The way to go for the CFTA is really to enhance our partnership and collaboration with other RECs, regional economic communities. I know EAC, we are ahead in terms of around a number of dimensions, trade integration dimension, production dimension, and other aspects of integration. But we cannot move alone. We need to move together. We need to move together with other RECs. So what we are doing as EABC is ensure that we build or enhance synergies. Currently, we are working with the COMESA Business Council, we are working with SADC Business Council, and we are bringing on board African Business Council so that we work in terms of sharing information, sharing opportunities, but also advocate for those barriers, NTB, that are impacting on SMEs. So those are some of the initiatives we are championing, as I mentioned, training on simplified trade regime, establishment of youth and women desk, regional engagement, including African Business Council. We had an exciting event in Nairobi where we all joined hands, African Business Council, EABC, our national focal point, KEPSA, and we made it. We made it through having a private sector platform, and we're also we're trying to, through the support of GIZ, launch a digital and e-commerce platform. And this is going to also share opportunities around digitization and digital trade. And I want really to thank the CFTA Secretariat. They have been part and parcel of us in terms of supporting EABC, but also the private sector. And we are moving together. So I'm happy that through the partnership and the linkages, we are able to ensure that we take advantage of this innovative instrument. But above all, we also, at the ABC, we've recently signed an MOU with UN Women, specifically to address gender-related violence, issues of harassment, issues of not understanding trade systems and processes. And we're also working closely with the trademark in terms of other instruments, including what they are doing around cross-border market, but also they have also a platform where women and youth can access information. And above all, we are working with the EWIB. EWIB is South African Business Network, and EWIB is part and parcel of us. So those are some of the initiative, Moses, and I will be happy to respond to some of questions. But finally, I think where we need to do more is around public procurement. I know Kenya has done quite commendable with regard to creating a framework or a policy where the government, 40% of the government procurement is done or is contracted by SMEs. And I think that's what we need to do across the continent. We need to give priorities to our SMEs to take advantage of the market. We need to make it easier for them to trade by giving them market access, not only continental, but country, regional, and other market access. So we cannot achieve the objectives or the goals of CFTA without giving our SMEs a prominent place in the policy decisions or in our procurement framework. So that's my insight, and I want to thank you and thank all my fellow panelists. Thank you, Moses.
Thank you, Edie, for highlighting on how the private sector and how the EABC has been facilitating SMEs across East Africa and across Africa to take advantage of SMEs, of CFTA and cross-border trade, especially facilitating through digital and e-commerce trade through My Isoko. Those that are not familiar with Swahili, My Isoko is my market, and you can also look at www.myisoko.com, where you market, where you buy and sell and access information related to CFTA, but also interact with other traders. I'm also looking at how the training under CFTA for private sector, for youth and women in cross-border trade, over 1,000 being reached. Then also looking at trade instruments that have been, trade tools that have been trained into, especially the standards, the rules of origin, and also the partnerships, looking at REC to REC, east, west, north, east. So this is a very good conversation. And as I told you, we have the youth that will be giving their lessons, their success stories on how they have been trading. Allow me now on this panel to bring in Miss Nancy Amunga. Nancy Amunga is the founder and CEO of Danaida Limited, formerly Dana Communications Limited. She has won several international accolades for both her business and the work she does with fellow youth. She's the youngest honoree of the African Achievers Awards Social Impact category, which is received at she received it at the House of Commons, United Kingdom, and the Commonwealth Young Entrepreneurs of the Year. She was once receiving during the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in London, England. She is the founder fellow, a partnership between Jack Ma of Arbaba and the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. She received the Dedication and Excellence Certificate from the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industries for her dedication towards youth in business. The profile, the bio is long. I have just summarized it. Let me come to you, Miss Nancy, the founder and CEO of Danaida Limited. As a youth leader and entrepreneur, what do you advise CFTA Secretariat, EAC partner states to do for the proper implementation of CFTA, especially the protocol on women and youth in trade? What is the role of youth and women in these processes? Over to you, Ms. Nancy.
Thank you so much, Moses. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. You can project your video so that we can see you, if you don't mind.
Okay. I think I'm on, am I?
Not yet. I don't see, but you can continue. I think it will come. Please
Okay.
proceed.
All right. So I want to first of all take this opportunity to thank the EABC for having me today. Trade is something that's very close to my heart. I am lucky that I am a woman and still fall under the category of youth. So I will speak for both categories or parties if you wish. A major benefit of trade is creating better jobs, therefore uplifting people economically, especially the women and the youth. And as we all know, when you empower one woman, you empower the whole community, as women are the backbones of the community. I am personally in logistics, exporting fresh cut flowers from Kenya to the other parts of Africa and the world as a whole. And I have a few pointers on what I think the role of the AfCFTA Secretariat and EAC partner states is for proper implementation of the AfCFTA, especially on the protocol on women and youth in trade. So number one, I think capacity building is very important. And this can be done in terms of trainings and skill building for youth and women, because in order for the youth and women to take up these opportunities, they need to have the capacity. And of course, provide access to markets and clients. And so far, I want to commend the AfCFTA Secretariat because they've done a lot of physical meetings, symposium, conferences, which have enabled the women and youth in trade to develop linkages and networks with potential customers and clients across Africa. But more can be done. As they say, your network is your net worth. And of course, continue to inspire and empower young people and women to take up these opportunities. Women have culturally been secluded over the years, and it's very paramount for continuous building their confidence and courage for them to feel like the opportunity is theirs to take. And of course, the issue of infrastructure is vital for us to realize the AfCFTA. So the Secretariat can continue to persistently engage with the different governments to make sure there is good infrastructure. These are roads, internet penetration and connectivity, you know, and for people who are exporting flowers, the airports need to be equipped with cold rooms, you know, just for us to realize the AfCFTA. We cannot realize it without good infrastructure. If I want to take my goods from Kenya to Uganda using the border, are there good roads for me to be able to access? And of course, the issue of payment system. There's still a great issue with payment system across Africa. Example, when you are about to supply goods or services to the other parts of Africa, it hits you. How will I get my payment, you know? And then you get stuck on, if I deliver this, how will I get my payment? So we need to improve on the payment system, especially for the SMEs. And majority of the SMEs are owned by women and young people. And the issue of financing, there's usually a discussion that after the capacity building and training, what next? How will I be able to take advantage of the opportunities of the 1.3 billion people if we do not have the capacity to manufacture because of lack of financing? So after the training, what is the follow-up? AfCFTA should always make sure there is constant flow of information. Access to information should be very easy. Some of the 1.3 billion people who are targeted might not even know that these opportunities exist and how, leave alone how to take advantage of them, because we all know Africa is predominantly rural, and 50%, almost 50%, I'm not so sure of the percentage, but I think almost half is offline. So how do we make sure there's inclusivity and no one is being left behind? And we talk about inclusivity also in the payment. How do we make sure that everyone is on this road to where we are going? So those are my few pointers of what I think the AfCFTA should do. Moses, should I proceed on the role of youth and women in this, or do I stop there for the time?
Please proceed if it's okay. What is the role in these processes? Yeah.
All right, because this is a collective effort and all players in the game need to play their role. I also think as we tell the AfCFTA and EABC secretariats on what we think they should do, I think the women and the youth also have a role to play. And what are these roles? Number one, you need to sharpen and develop your skills through trainings in order to easily take advantage of the opportunities that are offered. So if you're a young person, it's up to you to consistently hone your skills in order to be able to take advantage of this. And then in Kenya, we call it being on the ground. That means you're the person who's affected the most. So it's up to us to consistently give feedback to the EABC and the AfCFTA Secretariat on the improvement that can be made, because it's a work in progress. And like I said earlier, it requires collective effort from all the players. So the more we continue to give them feedback, then they continue to, improve on whatever already exists. And then young people and women should also give value. I mean, when you're given all these opportunities, what value are you bringing to the table? What are you offering? And how is it different from what already exists? Is it just a copy paste? Are you doing a value addition? What value are you bringing to the table? And last but not least, and very important, is trust. It's up to the youth and women to make sure there is trust with the clients or potential buyers of their goods and services. We cannot talk about e-commerce because the AfCFTA majorly relies on e-commerce. I can trade with someone who's in West Africa when I'm in East Africa. So how it's up to us to make sure there is trust, and it's easy to build trust. Deliver on your promise. If you promise you're going to deliver a red phone or a red rose, make sure that's what reaches the other end. Trust is very vital, and I think it's the backbone of all this. So it's up to us to make sure that our clients are comfortable. And then in future, we're going to build an ecosystem where everyone trusts each other and everyone is able to trade with each other from across borders. Yeah, thank you, Moses. That's my submission for now.
Many thanks, Ms. Nancy, for your presentation, for your key remarks on how the youth can take advantages, the role of youth in these processes. Because what we know that is that government doesn't trade, government gets trade. And the government have committed, they have given us this framework, this continental free trade area. And even they have started from the REX, because CFTA is riding on the benefits of the REX. And it was good that you highlighted on capacity building, especially the intentional trainings. Then we need to focus, the Secretariat and the government need to focus on infrastructure, because the cost of logistics, the cost of a container per kilometer in this region versus the cost of container in Europe is much higher. Then how can we also be interconnected by railways? Because most of EAC countries and most of other African countries are landlocked. Actually, some of them are not landlocked, but are double landlocked. If you're a landlocked and you are neighboring a country that is landlocked, you are double landlocked. Then, of course, looking at the infrastructures, especially those who are exporting these products that can get damaged quickly, like flowers, fruits, to have those cold rooms at airport. Then, of course, looking at payment system, because the cost in exchanging also makes business too high. And I think Donald will tell us, when are we realizing this monetary union, so that we have the same currency that was there before? Or how can we have the continental payment system? Then as youth who are listening in, how are you prepared? What value are you adding? These have been brought to you, tools of trade, information. What are you adding? Are you adding value in a product, or you're just getting a fruit and you're exporting it? You're getting avocado and you are exporting it. Why can't you make avocado oil? Why can't you make jelly? Why can't you do other things? Why can't we add value on products so that we can realize the industrialization policy? Thank you, Nancy. I will be coming to you. And at this point, let me bring in Donald. Donald has already given the opening remarks. Who is the principal customs officer, tariffs and rules of origin. And I will just have a simple question so that you can guide us. What strategies, especially at EAC Secretariat, what strategies does EAC Secretariat have to ensure that the CFT protocol on women and youth in trade is fully domesticated and implemented by partner states? Donald, if you're still there.
Thank you, Moses.
Yes, please.
Now, you have asked on how the Secretariat, but I would like to state that, as you are aware, Secretariat is coordinating EAC instrument as well as the AfCFTA and any other concluded agreements in collaboration with partner states. So while replying to this, I think both Secretariat and the EAC partner states needs to do the following. First is the modernization of the locally shared markets. As you might be aware, the community identified 3 selected border points where they are going to construct the shared market in order to streamline value chains of selected products within partner states. But also, there is need to strengthen productive capacity through implementation of industrial and the national regional export strategies. Also, as the community, we need to put in place monitoring and enforcement mechanism which will facilitate access on the progress of the implementation, both at national and regional level, and in order to provide for remedial policies, measures where appropriate. Another mitigation that we need to look at is on studies, analysis, as well as the national stakeholders consultation, which needs to be undertaken on continuous basis in order to inform policy formulation to address emerging implementation challenges. Now, when it comes to youth and women, as the community, we need to implement the EAC youth policy, but also provide for dedicated desks at the OSPPs, which are dedicated to women and youth. As Nancy also highlighted, I think we also need to review our simplified trade regime in terms of the threshold. As I highlighted when making my opening remarks, the EAC threshold under the simplified trade regime is 2,000. But when you come to the AfCFTA, what you have state parties have adopted is 5,000. So you can see the mismatch that will be favoring more threshold when we are trading at continental level, yet trade within EAC will still be at 2,000. But I think also partner states need to ensure representation of women and youth in the implementation committees. And this should run across even within the joint border committees, where currently I think there is very little representation of women and youth. But we need also to strengthen regional value chains that employ women and youth. And here you can look at sectors like the agro-processing, where we all know that women and youth are highly employed on those sectors. But we need also the community to increase investment in the digital capacity development and the trade facilitation to upskill and reskill women and youth. There is also need to implement the consultative dialogue framework for civil society, private sector, and the other interest group. This is to ensure that all the interests of women and youth are taken care of. But we also need to establish a regional business incubation center for young entrepreneurs, and this will entail development of the guidelines as well as establishing a regional incubation center. So I think these are some of the few things, Moses, which I believe partner states and the EAC Secretariat need to put them in place in order to ensure that women and youth can realize the benefits of the AfCFTA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donald, for those interesting insights. I think if I am to summarize, you really came up with a recommendation, especially implementation of EAC youth policy. Also, we need also to look at the SME, the East African SME Charter. Of course, the illustration policy on how it is being implemented at TSC level, at the regional level, and at national level. Then, of course, having a youth representative, youth and women desk at one-stop board post, I think it will be doing good justice, and the voices of youth and women will be heard, but also having them on those board committees, coordination committee. Then, of course, looking at the threshold, TSC at REC level and at the continental level, because as you said, at continental level, they have agreed at 5,000, and at the regional level, we have 2,000. And if we can increase and harmonize the threshold, I think it can be good. And I'm happy that Madam Yema has joined, and she'll be giving us the highlights, especially the presentation. But thank you so much, especially also Donald, recommending that strengthening the regional chains, value chains, and of course, having a modernization of locally shared markets. We'll be coming back to you. Let me now also, as we come to the conclusion of this part of the panel, also to encourage my technical team, the IT team, to keep admitting people that are in the lobby. I'm happy we have a big number, 107 plus participants. We thank you wherever you're coming from, the region you are tuned, the country you are in. We are aware of the time difference. Some of you, I can see our colleagues that are based in Europe and USA, especially it's early in the morning, those from USA. Let me come to Miss Loz Lona. I think she's the international trade expert. She's an international trade expert and founder of Trade Smart Consult. And she has worked with international organizations, UN, that support SMEs. And I think also she has been a core person during the consultations of youth and women protocol. My friend Rose, let me ask you a question. What advice do you have for SMEs who want to trade under CFTA framework, especially on resource mobilization? What advice do you give them? Madam Rose, you can unmute.
Okay, thank you so much, Moses. And it's very exciting to be here today. Thank you to the EABC and partners who have facilitated this webinar today. The issue of the CFTA, women and youth, and in regards to trade is really close to my heart. And for the past 5 years, I have championed on this area in terms of providing capacity building, awareness. I have also supported many development partners in terms of providing technical support on this subject matter. So when you called upon me to speak on this, I was very happy because one of the big things that did happen for us this year is that we got a go-ahead from the heads of states who are the CFTA member parties on the protocol of women and youth, a protocol that we really fought for as women and youth. And back to your question in how or what advice I can be able to give SMEs or on what to do, to be able to take advantage of the opportunities under the CFTA, especially in terms of resource mobilization. A lot has been spoken by the speakers before me, And what I can just do is basically reiterate the same, but maybe to just highlight specifically for SMEs who are listening in today. Most importantly, we need to understand and educate ourselves what the CFTA is about. It's just not one agreement. It's one agreement that encompasses several protocols. Protocol on women and youth. We have protocols on trade facilitation, on goods, trade in services. So what I would just urge SMEs is to take advantage of awareness sessions such as the ones that we have today. As TradeSmart, also we are in collaboration with the EABC, and tomorrow we will have a dedicated webinar, which we are going to be demystifying the Women and Youth Protocol. I will share the link to register for that webinar after this. So most importantly, I think you need to familiarize yourself what the CFTA is, so that for you to be able to take advantage of it, you need to understand what it is. You need to be able to understand where the opportunities are within it. And specifically looking at the market opportunities for the product or service that you're interested in. And I normally advise SMEs that, first of all, look at what you've been able to do within the regional economic community that you're in. So, for example, in the EAC, if you're an SME within one of the countries that are party to the EAC, have you been able to export or utilize the Common Market Protocol for the EAC before you can say that you want now to go and trade in another regional economic community such as ECOWAS or SADC? So I think we need to be able to, first of all, utilize the local opportunities that are there within our regional economic communities, learn, on how to be able to trade with other countries from the regional economic communities before we can say that we want to trade with other regional economic communities. In terms of identifying market opportunities, there are free tools that are also available online, such as the ITC Export Potential Map. There are quite a number of tools online that can be able to help you to see the countries that do have, a specific demand for the products that you are able to produce. The aspect of production capacity, when you're dealing with international trade, you're not dealing with the small quantities that you're dealing with at national level. There's high levels of, reliability that is required from you. So it's important that as you're producing that particular product, you are cognizant of the demand that is required of you if you're targeting trading at the continental level. So you could be possibly looking at aggregation facilities, joining together as different SMEs to be able to, have predictable, supply of the products that you do have, so that you can be able to secure continuous supply of your product in the target market that you're looking at. I think the aspect of financial management is really important. As SMEs, a lot of us tend to operate informally, or even we do not have proper record keeping practices. I think for you to be able to secure financing, for you to be able to, even secure export licenses, some of these entities that, provide this financing or even compliance may require you to have to be in good financial standing. So I think that's one of the aspects that SMEs really need to take to look at, so that they are preparing themselves. Also looking at different financing options, because you might think that only financing for maybe your savings from the bar, from loans, but there are different financing options that you could look at, such as venture capitalism, looking at who out there can I be able to partner, can be able to give me, some form of, financing for me to be able to take advantage of this new market. Crowdfunding, you'll have government grants, sometimes you'll have development partner grants. So there are alternative financings that you could look at, because SMEs, one of the biggest challenges that they do have is financing for them to be able to scale up. Also seeking financial advice whenever necessary, I think is also something that SMEs need to look at. Another thing that I think SMEs can look at to prepare themselves for the CFTA is leveraging technology. And this can really play a big role when it comes to enhancing competitiveness. So they should probably be looking at adopting digital tools for sales and marketing operations for a wider reach. And I think also the protocol on digital trade also was recently passed at the CFTA heads of states the AAU heads of states level. So I think this is also a very important protocol that can be able to support SMEs and the wider private sector to be able to leverage on technology to trade within the CFTA. Also building networks and partnerships. I think this is one of the really important ways that SMEs can be able to leverage the CFTA, because for you to be able to get that one order in that country that you're targeting, then these networks and partnership are really, really important. And by networking and partnership, I mean, attending such sessions that we are having today, attending exhibitions, for example, the IATF exhibition that we had last year in Cairo. We do have at the EAC level, the Juakali, Nguvu Kazi, and quite a number of others, exhibitions that are there. There's so many of them nowadays. And that's where you either get, a potential buyer, or you even get a potential person who can invest in your business as a venture capitalist. You can also be able to get, information on where your product can be on demand, or even cheaper raw materials to enhance your production process. Compliance is also a big deal. I think a lot of SMEs fall back in terms of compliance. So ensure you just have all your compliances, you have your audited accounts, you have your proper the records for taxation and all that. Just compliance. Sometimes we underestimate the importance of compliance, even compliance with licenses for export, compliance with the destination market requirements of your products. Those you need to be able to look at. And last but not least, I just want to speak on the role of seeking support and advice. A lot of what I've said can sound very complex for an SME, but that is what EABC is there for. EABC is there to be able to support you in terms of providing such kind of advice. And at national levels, we also have associations that can be able to provide this support. For example, in Kenya, we have the Private Sector Alliance, we have the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. So these associations are really important to be able to provide you support on how you can be able to take advantage of the CFTA. We also have private sector consultancy firms like TradeSmart, who are able to provide you with also this kind of support. TradeSmart now is in 3 countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Ethiopia. We launched Ethiopia 2 weeks ago, and we're also looking at launching in Uganda. So basically to provide support to SMEs, to women, to youth, to large, medium organizations on how they can be able to leverage or take advantage of trade agreements, not only the CFTA, but other trade agreements such as AGOA, such as COMESA, such as the EAC. So we are happy to provide that support. We do have experts across most of the African countries, and I will be providing more information on the chat on how you can be able to reach us. Over to you, Moses. That's my submission.
Thank you, Rose. And from the chat, everyone is saying that why can't you keep speaking? Can't you speak, presenting? And thank you for what you are doing at TradeSmart, and TradeSmart being a big partner, a cross partner to EABC. And actually, we are looking on how to start simplifying, demystifying the protocol youth and women between EABC, TradeSmart, and CFTA Secretariat, especially for highlighting on partnerships, building partnerships, building network, compliance. That's why at EABC with our partners, I can see GIZ here, I can see Secretariat, EAC. We have been having training specifically on standards and SPS so that our SMEs products can meet compliance, can meet international standards. Financial management, because most of the proposals, you find they don't have records, they don't have record keeping, they don't have auditing. So it also, Madam Laws has hinted on it. Then what on the protocol, what do you need? What you read it, it's now for public. And that's why I'm bringing in now Mrs. Gemma. She has come in to represent the Secretariat, the CFTA Secretariat, that has been doing a lot of wonderful work, especially this protocol of women and youth. I think it has been the most consulted protocol. And whatever in that protocol, it is the voices of the stakeholders. So thank you. And I know, Madam Gemma, you have a presentation, but before the presentation, it will come after this this panel. I want just to bring you in here, and you just tell us on one of the bottlenecks. I think the question is one of the bottlenecks faced by SMEs. Scale up is access to capital. How is the Secretariat poised to address the challenges, especially access to patient capital? Ms. Gemma, you can react to this question.
Good morning, Moses, and good morning to all the participants. And thank you so much for having me today. I really feel honored, and I am excited to be here to share with all of you on the protocol on women and youth in trade. Your question, Moses, is how is the Secretariat, or what is the Secretariat doing to facilitate women in view of the fact that one of the challenges that the women face is finance? Did I get it right, Moses?
Yes, women, yes, women, youth, and SMEs, yes.
Okay.
What is the Secretariat doing on the access to patient capital?
On the access to?
To finance.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will come later, as we say, but in terms of supporting women and youth in the AfCFTA, in prioritizing the intra-Africa trade, as well as value addition and industrialization, the Secretariat has identified 10 value chains, that is cocoa, soya, leather products, textile and apparel, financial services, and culture, as well as creative industries. These are high potential for participation for women and youth in trade. Earlier on, one of the participants, I didn't get the name, indicated that we need to upscale those value chains where there is a high number of women employment. But in terms of financial capital, the Secretariat has signed a memorandum of understanding with the UBA Bank to offer financial support for SMEs, which include women and youth operating within the AfCFTA. The Secretariat has also signed the memorandum of understanding with ITC to offer capacity building for export readiness to micro and small medium-sized enterprises to trade under the AfCFTA. We continue to also negotiate with banks such as the Zenith Bank, the Eco Bank, to be able to offer financial support to SMEs, including women and youth. One of the challenges is that, of course, there are loans offered by the commercial banks. However, these loans, the requirements are not favorable for the women and for the youth, as well as for the SMEs. So our discussion with these commercial banks is to ensure that the facilities that they put together, the financial support that they want to extend to SMEs, including women and youth, should take into consideration the conditions that they operate under. If you ask them to offer some property as a way of ensuring that they would pay. You are asking too much for this from these SMEs. So we are trying to discuss and negotiate with the banks that while they are willing to offer financial support, but it should consider the conditions of the SMEs, including women and youth. So far, as I said, we have already signed an MOU with UBA. We are in discussion with EcoBank. We are in discussion with Zenith Bank. Not only are we discussing for financial support, I would like to mention here that there's the Pan-African payment system that the AfCFTA has come up with in consultation or in collaboration with Afrexim Bank. We call it PEPS, the Pan-African payment system. This system is a system which the central banks of the different state parties or signatories of the AfCFTA, the central banks are supposed to link into this system. It will allow that SMEs, women and youth that trade under the AfCFTA make their payment using their local currencies. I believe that you are aware that currently when you are exporting or importing from an African country, the payment or the currency that usually is requested or used is a dollar or a euro. But with PEPS, we are saying that Africans should be able to trade with their own currencies. In trading with your own currencies, you avoid losing a lot of money through currency conversion. So this is another system that the women can benefit from. But for us to be able to benefit, since it's state party to state party, we encourage the central banks to be able to join into this system so that the SMEs and the women and youth can be able to pay using their local currencies and not lose a lot of money from currency conversion. This is all that I can say. Thank you so much, Moses. Over to you.
Thank you, Gemma. And I recall in those youth and women consultations, both in Dar es Salaam and Zambia, how the role you played so that you can hear, you can get the voices, the recommendations of youth and women in business. And thank you, the Secretariat, for availing yourself. We know the time difference, but for availing and telling us the MOUs you have with the UBA at the United Bank of Africa to offer financial to SMEs and youth. Then also the MOU you have with ITC for capacity building. And ITC has been also a partner with us, ABC. We built together the e-commerce platform that will facilitate digital trade. And I want you to also, the participants, to go and look at it. It's called www.myisoko.com. Then we are thrilled that you're having a conversation with ECO and Zenith Bank so that SMEs can have patient capital. But also we'll be coming to you. How are the youth going to have access to those finances? How is it different from other commercial banks? What are the requirements? Is it a lot of documentation? Is it a lot of bureaucracy? But it will just be for the organized. I think the SMEs, the youth that are here, I can see the big numbers. You can see what the Secretariat is bringing. And later, Ms. Gemma will be presenting about the youth and women protocol. But if you don't know her role, she's in charge of regional economic communities coordination on CFTA. So all REX, EAC, ECOWAS, COMESA, all that's her role. She's coordinating those ones. So as we wind up, don't worry, keep on the chat. There is a question and answer session it will come, but I will bring it after Gemma has presented. Let me, as I wind up, let me go back to, in a few minutes, I will be giving each 1 or 2 minutes for this question. Let me go back to Donald from EAC, from East African Community Secretariat. So far, what are the successes, challenges highlighted in trading under CFTA, especially under GTI Guided Trade Initiative? What could be
Moses?
Yes,
Hello,
yes,
Moses. I
yes.
would appreciate if we allow Gemma to present, because you might then after presentation you can perhaps respond to those. Otherwise, we will be preempting her presentation. Let's give her a minute to present so that we can answer the questions.
Okay. Gemma, you can please continue and do a presentation.
Thank you very much, Moses. I'll make it very short so that I don't take much of the time. I have heard from the speakers who spoke before me that they made highlights of the protocol on women in trade. But let me just start by saying that the protocol has just been adopted by the AU Assembly in February. And it wasn't just the protocol on women and youth in trade. They also adopted the protocol on digital trade, which I believe is very important to the SMEs as well as women and youth. Now, my presentation I will just indicate that there are a number of studies that have been done that show that different statistics on women. The UN Women, for instance, says that it will take 50 years to achieve gender parity in politics and 118 years to true pay equality. These are some of the challenges that are faced by the women and the youth. While the World Bank says small businesses represent approximately 90% of all business in Africa. You can see the extent at which SMEs are very key and important in Africa. MasterCard has indicated that sub-Saharan Africa has 44 million SMEs. And UN Women continue to approximate 70% of cross-border traders as being women. And SMEs create between 60 and 80% of jobs and contribute 40% to GDP in Africa. So these are some of the studies that have been done indicating the contribution of the SMEs, contribution of women, as well as the contribution of the youth. The objective of the protocol on women and youth in trade is to ensure that women and youth are included, inclusion of women and youth in policy-making decisions, availability and access to trade information and data, research on issues affecting women and youth in trade, technical assistance in skills development, technology and marketing, implementation mechanism to prevent, discourage, address and eliminate harassment for women in trade. That is for women and youth, as well as encourage infrastructure development, and that is conducive for women and youth for cross-border traders. These are the objectives of the protocol. I will not get much into the history of the protocol, but this started in 2020, and where it was the session of the summit committed to broaden the scope of the AfCFTA and agreed to include the protocol on women and youth in trade. Then in February 2022, the session instructed the inclusion of the protocol on women and youth in trade, while in September, then the first conference on women and youth was held in Tanzania, Ghana, under the patronage of the President, Her Excellency, Madam Samia, or Mama Samia Suluhu Hassan, who is the champion for the women and youth in trade. At this conference, There were recommendations that were made, which were used for the development of the protocol. And then the protocol, the negotiations started the following year. A committee was put together, which was spearheading the negotiations. Now, the negotiations ended last year, and the protocol was adopted by the Ministers of Trade, and ultimately it was taken through the Technical Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs before it was adopted by the 37th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State in February this year. The protocol is a legally binding instrument that will apply to all trade policies, activities, and interventions that support women and youth in trade. And as I said, it includes SMEs because I indicated that most of the SMEs in Africa are women and youth. Since this protocol is going to be we are going to put it in our website as the Secretariat. Let me not go through the different articles, but it has a number of articles that facilitate and support the women and youth, the inclusion of women and youth in national monitoring committees, in socio-economic development, as well as in financial literacy program. Further, the protocol also supports the women and youth registration, utilization, and protection of intellectual property rights. It supports their entry and effective participation in AfCFTA market. It supports the simplification of trade procedures and processes that support women and youth in cross-border trade, as well as mechanisms that address, it supports mechanisms that address harassment and issues that compromise security and safety of women and youth. I indicated that earlier that in supporting intra-Africa trade, the Secretariat has put together some 10 value chains that I mentioned earlier. I'll skip that one and move to some of the strategic forums where women and youth can participate. We have the Youth Symposium as the Secretariat. The Youth Symposium is an event that we host annually, once a year. The inaugural Youth Symposium was hosted in 2023 in Lusaka, Zambia. This year, we are going to host a youth symposium as well. We don't have any date as yet, but it will be communicated with all stakeholders, including the EABC. We also have the Conference on Women, which provides the opportunity to take stock of progress in implementing of policies and programs. Let me indicate here, ladies and gentlemen, that the first conference which I talked about, which was held in 2022, was the Conference on Women and Youth in Trade. However, during that conference, the youth felt that their voice could not be heard much and requested that the two be separated. That is why last year we had the Youth Symposium in Lusaka, and then we had the Conference on Women in Trade in Tanzania in December. These two are annual events. They are going to be hosted again this year. And during these two conferences, we usually encourage women and youth to come, even to exhibit their products, because this is an opportunity where they can be able to network and also have contact with others in different markets or in different countries. Further, as the Secretariat, we have the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, which is a biennial trade fair. It is held once in 2 years. Last year, it was held in Egypt, and next year, it's going to be held in Algeria. This is also a platform which also encourages or supports women and youth to participate. We have a pavilion for women and youth where they can be able to showcase their products, where they can be able to pitch to the investors, as well as where they can be able to share ideas. And then we have a business forum, which we call Biashara Africa. The business forum is a women and youth. It also encourages women and youth to network and connect as SMEs with AfCFTA value chains and investment opportunities. The biashara is going to be held in Rwanda in October. And currently, if you go into the website for the AfCFTA, currently we are calling for SMEs to register for the Biashara Africa. So just go onto the network for the AfCFTA and register as an SME there. The challenges for facing women and youth, they have already been discussed here, so I will not get into that. Now, to ensure that there is inclusiveness of women and youth and SMEs under the Secretariat, there's capacity building and advocacy initiatives. We also have young women and men and mentorship opportunities to build capacity and develop linkages between young emerging leaders and prominent leaders. We have increased mobilization of resources for activities under women, youth, and SME, as I mentioned earlier. And we have also increased collaboration with young women and youth in media to promote youth-owned or led businesses and digital technology and innovation. I earlier on specifically mentioned the adoption of the digital trade protocol, which was adopted at the same time with the Women Protocol on Women and Youth in Trade, purely for the fact that digital technology and innovation is something that is coming up in Africa, and the youth are so much involved in this. And nowadays, there's no need to do physical. We can connect across the countries through digital technology and innovation. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, let me say, successful implementation of the AfCFTA agreement would mean creation of a conducive environment for women and youth entrepreneurs, expanded market access, expansion of customer base, which means increase in revenue, in turn promoting sustainability of youth and youth SMEs. Value addition, women entrepreneurs can source inputs within the continent at a cheaper price, and also increased competitiveness where integration and regional value chains are involved. There's also going to be diversified business opportunities with the implementation of the AfCFTA and the Protocol on Women and Youth and Trade, and increased investment and collaboration, as well as skills and knowledge and exchange. And lastly, easier access to inputs and resources by SMEs, including women and youth. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you so much for this opportunity. And as the AfCFTA, we are looking forward to working together with SMEs, to working together with women and youth to make sure that we build the Africa that we want. And thank you again, EABC, for this invitation. And I'm looking forward, as the Secretariat, to more invitations where we can share information with the SMEs, share information with women and youth. So feel free to touch base with us when you have a need so that we can have a discussion. And if we are able and we are available, we are definitely going to be supporting you. Thank you so much. Back to you, Moses.
Thank you, Ms. Gemma. Thank you so much, and thank you for the Secretariat, and of course for this coordination and for simplifying and summarizing the protocol just in 2-3 minutes, especially highlighting on the statistics, on the composition of small businesses, representation, and the number, like Sub-Saharan Africa having 44 million SMEs, and SMEs contributing 60 to 80% of jobs, and highlighting the objectives, especially, and looking at what it touches, especially on intellectual property, then having a strategic forum, then especially the youth symposium, which EABC supported, attended last year, and actually we were part of the pre-youth symposium organizing committee, then conference on youth and women, especially separating them, youth and then women. Then also, Ms. Gemma, we also recommended that also we can have what we call the SG forum. Let's say every after quarter week, youth and SMEs can have a forum with Secretary General. It can be virtually, it can be physically, putting in consideration his busy schedule, and also intra-African trade fair where the EABC, especially our CEO, participated. Then now that we have known about the business forum called the Biashara Africa and calling SMEs to register, I think you can share the link on the chat so that we can, SMEs can start registering, and we are told it will be in Rwanda, which is in East Africa here. Thank you so much. We'll be engaging you. You keep online because there is an interesting session that is coming, which is question and answer. But also there is an interesting session that is coming, success, people sharing their success stories, how they have traded. And I will not invite the question and answer people to ask about presentation. Let me just compile it so that it can come at once, being the question and answer session. Let me bring in Rose, so that after Rose, I can bring in Donald, then the CEO to finalize on this session. Rose, you've heard about the submission from Secretariat, CFTA Secretariat, and how we have been planning actually to have a program to simplify, demystify the protocol on youth and women as TradeSmart and EABC. Just in, let's say, 2 minutes, do you think the CFTA protocol on women and youth in trade is a game changer? How should it be successfully implemented by partner states? And what should be the role of youth in these processes? Actually, the role Ms. Gemma has mentioned it, but how should it be successfully implemented? And do you think it's a game changer for youth and women? Rose, you might unmute and.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Moses, for that question. And it is my opinion that the women and youth trade and in trade protocol of the CFTA is a game changer. I think this is the first time that we do have such a protocol in any trade agreement in the world, a dedicated protocol for youth and women. So definitely, I think that it is a game changer. But I say this is only a game changer if at the level of EAC partner, CFTA partner states, we can be able to, take it very seriously and implement this protocol at the level of the national level and also at the level of the regional economic community level. As Gemma has mentioned, the protocol has really good stuff. It has captured quite a lot of the complaints that we do have as women and youth in trade, aspects to do with eliminating discrimination, affirmative action, promoting equality and inclusiveness. It's addressed aspects of access to finance, capacity building, protection against sexual harassment. It has also proposed institutional arrangements for monitoring and evaluation and cooperation. So indeed, it is a game changer. And the successful implementation of this particular protocol basically depends on just a few issues that I just want to highlight, and I'll be very fast about it. First and foremost, we need to look at the aspect of capacity building and awareness about the protocol. I know it's just the second month after the protocol has been ratified at the highest level or passed at the highest level of the states, member states of the African Union. But I think it's now the time at national level, at development partner level, at the private sector level, we start creating awareness about this protocol so that women and youth entrepreneurs are able to hold their national or member states to account in order for them to be able to, implement this agreement. And I say this because already most of the member states had already started developing their CFTA implementation strategies. So it would be important that this new protocol is integrated to already existing national CFTA implementation strategies. Policy alignment, the member states also need to align their national policies with the objectives of the protocol. So looking at implementing gender responsive policies and programs for the inclusion of women and trade, putting in place access to finance. So member states need to look at their regulatory framework in terms of access to finance to just make sure that it is favorable and is enabling women and youth to be able to access finance. And we know some of the challenges for access to finance includes women who lack collateral in terms of land to be able to help them to access finance. So this is an important aspect that member states need to facilitate. Digital trade, partner states also need to promote digital trade and e-commerce, which provides women and youth with access to new markets. So accessibility to internet, skills, affordability of access to internet, also access to tools is something that really needs to be taken into consideration by partner states. Last but not least, and I think it's the most important, partner states should establish mechanisms for monitoring and evaluation of the implementation of the protocol. So just like we did have a monitoring and evaluation aspect in the national implementation strategies, we need to add on the protocol for women and youth and component of monitoring and evaluation, so that maybe in the first or second or third year, we can say we've implemented 50% of the protocol, 70% of the protocol, because what is measured gets done. So that's my response, and over to you, Moses.
Thank you so much, especially highlighting on how to align the national policies to this protocol. I will not say much. We intend to end this webinar in 32 minutes. So I think what I wanted to ask others have been asked, but let me bring in Donald as just parting shots for this session. Then of course you'll remain for question and answer, but in 1 minute, what would be your parting shots?
Thank you, Moses. Yeah, I think I wouldn't differ much from the previous speaker. Indeed, the protocol is very key and it highlights quite a number of issues. And I think in order for state parties realize the benefits provided by the protocol, we need to do a lot of sensitization, because it's very clear when it comes to awareness on what is provided in the protocol, there is very little known among the beneficiaries. So we need to do a lot of capacity building, but also in terms of the governments, they need to put in place mechanisms which are needed to ensure smooth implementation of the protocol. I think for now, that will be my comment. Thank you, Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Donald. You will stay for the question and answer session in the coming, I think, 20 minutes. Let me bring in, of course, Nancy for this session, hearing from and learning from the experts and also learning from you. What is your parting shot for this session? Nancy,
I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
So for me, my advice would be to the youth in business and women in business. I always love using this analogy that the lion is not the biggest animal in the jungle in terms of size, but it still remains the king of the jungle. So do not fear to take up these opportunities, no matter how big they look. Always go for it, and remember, winners look like you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Of course, Gemma, Miss Gemma, and our CEO, I'll bring in later as we are doing concluding remarks. Let me just now, as you prepare the participants you've been hearing, I can see you are still in big number, 100. Let me ask if happiness is here. If she's here, let her unmute, and I know whether she's around. Happiness is an entrepreneur from Tanzania who is a founder and managing director of Aja Tanzania Limited, which deals with exportation of sisal fiber to Europe and Africa and Asia. And she's the first Tanzanian to trade under CFTA. If you're there, can you just in 2 minutes tell us, are you there, Happiness? My technical team, you might unmute her, then she can speak. Enable her. You might enable all the mics so that she can unmute and speak, Happiness.
Yeah, all mics are enabled.
Okay. Happiness,
Hello.
kindly proceed.
Good morning, everybody.
Yes. Hello, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. As you introduced me, I have experience on trading under AfCFTA since last year, August. Until now, I've been exporting not less than 7 containers under AfCFTA. Through this market, I've been experienced in increasing the marketing. I had a contract last month from Ghana to exporting not less than 6 containers each month. And also I'm engaging in discussion with people from Mal regarding also exportation of sisal. What I can say through this market, what we are lacking is enough capital. But that is not a problem, because at the end of the day, we need to see how we can implement mechanism which is reality in financing women. A lot of women, they don't know how they will get capital, how they will get finance, how they can comply. So we need some kind of expertise doing consultation to women. As I speak, I have more than 100 women in my factory who are sorting and brushing the sisal. So through this market, I've been increasing the employment by 50%. So what I can say that this market is real, and we need women to participate in this market. The issue is women, they don't get informations. Right now, I was looking for women to participate in this market. I got only 5 women who is capable to do this, to go to this market. But the rest, they don't know. Others, they say, how can I get market? How can I get finance? So now we are in implementation, while others are now getting information regarding this market. So there is a gap here whereby AfCFTA and other association to see how they can manage it by providing more information to women and youth and incubate them until they will start business. Thank you very much, Moises.
Thank you, Happiness, and we are very happy. These are the success stories we want We talk about bureaucracy, cross-border challenges, but here she's saying she has traded under CFTA from Tanzania, she's trading, she's exporting sisal, and she is employing 100 women in the factory, and the market is real, the market is there. So I think we'll look at how also we'll bring in happiness to explain more in the further conversation. But I think this is the successes that EAC, that CFTA is looking up to. So thank you, Happiness. That's one of our ladies, and kudos to Happiness that is doing work and also a member of EABC on our SMEs. Then we have Mr. Charles. Mr. Charles, Charles is dealing with logistics. You have been saying the challenge is logistics. For him, he's telling you that if you are dropping things in Burundi and you are going back to Botswana, you are not supposed to go back empty. The containers shouldn't go empty. So he has created an app where he can connect you to the things that are coming from Burundi going to Botswana. I'm just using those countries. Charles, you have 2 minutes. And Charles, thank you. I know where you are. It is very early in the morning. But tell us about what you're doing in logistics, especially on freight forwarders and brokers, etc. 2 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Moses. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. And also thank you to EABC for this awesome webinar. My name is Charles and I'm founder at Apex Loads. And essentially what we're trying to do at Apex Load is streamline logistics in Africa in general. So I was born and raised in Kenya. So we chose East Africa as an entry point. This is like an obvious choice. And basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to elevate the logistics technology in Africa to reach the world standards. You know, if you look at a typical freight forwarders, brokers, and transporters in Africa, they don't necessarily have the capital to invest in technology to streamline their workflows. So what we're doing at Apex Load is we're building the technology for them and issuing to them as a SaaS, so as a subscription. And if you can see, like the whole point of EABC or EAC or the African Free Continental Trade Area is trade. And we all know you cannot do trade without logistics. And for logistics to work, we need to be able to trust each other, you know, which is really a common issue whenever it comes to Africa, because there isn't a single standard of regulation governing like logistics. Like if I'm a freight forwarder in Uganda and I want to work with a transporter in Kenya, it's very challenging for me to verify them, whether they're a legit company or whether they will disappear with my cargo. Or if I'm a transporter later in Tanzania and I want to work with a broker in Uganda, you know, it's very difficult to ascertain if I deliver the load that I'm actually going to get paid, or just the broker is just going to turn off their phone and disappear with the money. So essentially what we're doing is we're trying to build the infrastructure to facilitate that, give these guys the visibility and connectivity. Like Moses was saying, there is no reason why 70% of trucks going back from Kampala to Mombasa or Dar es Salaam are empty, when in reality, there's also a lot of cargo, a lot of exports from Kampala that are heading the same way. So, and what we're trying to solve is giving them the visibility and connectivity, and also building an infrastructure for credential verification. Thank you, Moses.
Thank you, Charles, for that brilliant innovation, for coming out with the connectivity and the visibility, and telling us why would the truck coming from Zambia to Tanzania, carrying loads, carrying goods, go back empty, and you have come to fill that gap. And I'm happy that our CEO has been a vocal advocating for how the logistics in East Africa can, be accessible. And I think Charles will engage with you more, especially with transporters. Now we have Mr. Arnold Nyendwa. Arnold is a Zambian who has a profit enterprise company that designs, produces, and distributes improved, reliable, and affordable cook stoves, because we are talking about climate change where you cut wood, but he has come with a solution that with stoves that use almost less charcoal or no charcoal. And he has won most of international awards on innovation, and also Charles has also been a trainee, as trained by CFTA, by EABC, by ULIT. That's how we met him. Charles, Arnold, could you also in 2 minutes tell us what you do and what you want to do in 2 to 3 minutes? Unmute.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Moses. Thank you to CEO, EABC, and all the organizers for the event. My name's Arnold Nyendwa. I'm the founder and CEO of Afnon Tech Industries, based in Zambia. The last 5 years, we've been innovating different types of stoves. Mostly we started with local solutions, which were homemade design stoves that would use sheets and local paint that would get and assemble stoves that were wood-based and would reduce on the amounts of carbon. However, after looking at successive stories of selling close to 10,000 units around the local units that we're producing, we recently, last year, we signed an MOU, a cooperation agreement in Asia for the largest stove machines, because the last 5 years we had been designing different stove products from gas to upgrade from the local stoves we used to do to gas and electric stoves. So we have currently put down on the production of the local stoves we used to do, and we completed also the international models of standards of gas and electric stoves. We have close to about 13 different models, starting from 1-plate gas stove, 2-plate gas stove, 1-plate electric stove, 2-plate gas stoves, and also the big hybrid stoves that are running on LPG gas and also electricity, as you can see from the pictures there. So we'll be setting up this plant in Zambia. We're starting implementation soon, but however, we are calling upon the Secretariat, EABC, and other entrepreneurs for an offtake market. We are looking for buyers who can offtake markets, will be set to be able to supply to the region, because the machine capacity can run up to 1 million units of stoves in a month. That's the largest and the first of its kind, compared to what is in Southern Africa and the northern part of Africa. So that's our core as Afnon. The numbers are with Moses and contacts. Those interested and those who wish to partner with us and work with us, we are open. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnold, for that innovation. And I know how your stoves are being consumed in Southern Africa. And those of you who have been now going to Asia, to Europe, to export, the things are just next door in Zambia. And the problem, the challenge for him is not the finance he has. What is looking for is market. Let me bring in Dr. Henry Emejua. the director, sorry if I murder your name, but Dr. Henry is the Director General and CEO of Pan-African Association of Small and Medium Industries. Henry, Dr. Henry, tell us about the Pan-African Association of Small and Medium Industries and how you have been supporting the SMEs. Doctor, if you're there, you are on mute. Okay. All right. Are you there, Dr. Henry? All right. Let's move on. When doctor comes, we will continue. We wanted also Mr. Nick. I think Nick has also, I don't know whether he's online, but he had also another engagement who is in avocado farming and avocado exporting from Kenya to Middle East. Nick, are you there? All right, let's go to the session of question and answer. I think Ms. Yema and others, you have seen how SMEs, what they are doing at the continent, trading under CFTA, employing fellow SMEs. Someone is speaking? All right, let's go to question and answer. These are the few rules. You just raise your hand and you make it question very simple and direct. You direct it to someone. So I see the hand from Violet. Violet, unmute and ask. Unmute and ask a question.
Hi everyone. So my name is Violet.
Tell us where you're coming from so that we can know. Yes, Violet.
Okay, so my name is Violet. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm an entrepreneur. I do art and fashion design in Kenya. So I have a question for Nancy. So Nancy, thank you so much for the presentation that you make. You really inspire me as a young woman. And I wanted to find out, like, what actually inspires you and how do you manage, like, in terms of professionalism? Because I know sometimes business is hard. So in terms of being a woman and maintaining your professionalism and having, like, being grounded, I would like to know how you go about it in this rough business, if I may. And then I also want to find out how I can join the East African Business Council as a young entrepreneur. Thank you.
I think we have lost Moses. Moses, you are muted.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Violet, thank you for the question. You might lower your hand. Let's now go to Dixon to come. Just brief question and where you come from. Dixon. Okay, if Dixon is taking long, we have someone called Flasia. Flasia, unmute and ask your question. Okay, Eric, go ahead. Okay, that's who. Please speak. Dixon, speak. You are
Yes,
unmuted. You speak.
Yes,
Ask your question.
I hope
Yes,
you can
yes.
hear me. Yes, my name is Dixon.
You can.
Hello. Yes, I lead the Uganda cashew nut
Yes,
value
please,
chain.
go ahead.
Yes, yeah. So I've been checking. I mean, we're doing a lot of work to do with this AfCFTA. I just checked. It's been about, I don't know, since 2021. We've been doing the same, trying to, but I find people with a lot of complications in cross-border trade, and here we are with AfCFTA. What hope can you people give us? Because when we say this, we never actually end up, transmitting anything. There is no transaction that happens. If it does, it's just complications, problems, and problems and problems. So you as an agency, which is Africa-wide, I mean, what are you people giving us? What can we take for an answer? What should we believe in? I mean, we would want to do trade. We don't want these limitations, but they're everywhere. You actually get shocked when you go here, you go to Congo, you go to Tanzania. It's a challenge. So what do we? Yeah, that's it.
What are the complications? What are the complications, Dixon?
Cross-border trade. It's a
That are
problem.
the cross-border trade.
Yeah, it's actually very big. You say what you say, but I'm sure you know that behind the microphone, these are the challenges. So as an agency, which is actually cross-cutting the whole continent, what can we take you for really? What can we count on? What can you build us? Can you really give us an assurance that politically, economically, cross-border, we can actually believe in you, and then maybe there will be a different story to tell after 5 years from now?
I will give the question to my CEO and Donald. Why are there complications at the cross-border trade, economically, politically? Let's have another question. I had called Eric Wandera. Dixon, you might mute.
Okay.
Thank you so much, moderator. My name is Eric Wandera from Kenya. I do not necessarily have a question, but it's just a statement I want to make. I lead a startup company called Pitch Media, and we specifically focus on sports fundraising. As you know, sports and the digital space is the currency of development among the youth currently. So we do sports fundraising through ideations and innovations, tapping into homogeneous methodologies and strategies of raising resources for sports for the young people. Now, how do we, like a question now, how do we plug into the opportunities that have been created in the platform that we are on right now to leverage on sports and technology going forward, especially tapping into the young population of the youth and the women in East African region? Thank you.
Is it my internet? I'm losing Eric.
I can hear you well. I said, my name is Eric Wandera from Kenya, and I lead a startup company called Pitch Media. Pitch Media focuses on sports fundraising through ideations and innovations. And we use homogeneous strategies to raise money to support talents among the youth, especially of the female and male demographics. Now, given this platform that I've been part of today, and a lot of good things have been discussed, what are the opportunities for us who are in the service industry and are focusing mainly on sports? Because for us, the currents of development right now, especially for the youth, is the industry of sports and the digital ecosystem. So what are the opportunities around this ecosystem that you occupy or control or have decisions over in terms of sports? And how can we plug in?
Thank you, Wandera. I will give this question to Madam Jema, especially the opportunities that are there in service industry. Let me take 3 questions, one from Calvin, another one from Teddy, another one from Nashivia. Calvin, please unmute and make your question precise. Calvin. Okay, can I have Teddy, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Teddy.
Yes, my name is Teddy Sinkala. I am the Chief Executive Officer for Zambia Micro and Small Traders Foundation Cooperative. You hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yes. I just want to comment on this African free trade area. It's like we are omitting those who are in informal economy, informal sector. Those who've got, things they can, export to other countries. I'm calling from Zambia. What we need is awareness and the capacity building. There are those in the informal sector, they've got quality things that they can even, export. But this African continental trade, African continental free trade area, it is only touching those who are in a macro economy. You see, let's focus on because to develop the country, we start from informal sector. I'll give you the example in Singapore. They started from informal sector awareness to educate them. Oh, this is what you are doing. You're supposed to do A, B, C, D. So we need, I don't know how we can help us as organization to roll out for the sensitization and awareness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teddy. Nashivia, then get from process, then we go to respond. Nashivia.
Hello.
Okay, Arosius, kindly.
Hello, hello.
Yes, yes.
Can you hear me?
Please, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon or good evening,
Go
wherever.
ahead.
My name is Nashivia, and I'm into cashnut business. Like Dixon said, it's really very troublesome, but I will say direct what we face, especially crossing the borders. They want us to pay ridiculous taxes, made up taxes. You ask them where, like I'm very conversant with the East African Common Market Portal. I always argue with it, but at the end of the day, they will delay you for 6 days or even a month until your goods get spoiled. Can we have something to, maybe somebody to call when such instances happen? Because even when you are informed of what you should do, they still frustrate you. The other question is, I have a trading company registered in a foreign country. Am I eligible, or how can I benefit from the Africa trade market? Because it's a trading company from the foreign country, the Asian country, importing goods into Africa. How can I benefit from the Africa free trade if there's a possibility of any sort? Thank you.
I suppose you're also from Uganda. Let's hear from Arosius. Arosius.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. This is Aloysius from Uganda, working for United Bank for Africa. I just wanted to pass on information that was or what Madame Gemma mentioned, that there is already partnership with the Africa Free Trade area, where UBA is willing to finance SMEs. A product has already been launched, and we have also gotten a partnership. We have gotten engaged with other development partners, where we are providing financial services, working capital in form of short-term loans and asset finance at reduced prices and equity contribution. So members on this platform can feel free to approach any of the countries where UBA has presence for detailed information. And we are focusing on mainly the four sectors that were mentioned as the flagship sectors, 10 of the flagship sectors under this campaign, which is basically agro-processing, automotive, transport and logistics, and pharmaceuticals. So, and maybe if we can also be given a chance and maybe another platforms or webinars to come, should maybe given a platform to present and provide information regarding these products that are existing in our financial institutions. I submit, moderator.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll engage with you more. Those that have asked questions, kindly lower your hands. Let me go back now to the panel. This is the first set of questions. Let me go back to the panel and so that we can react on the questions that have been asked. Let me start with, I think there was a question from Violet that goes to Nancy. Kenya, you can react. It was direct on you. Can you about fashion and design? Nancy?
Thank you. I think the question was simply what are the virtues and principles in business? And I think these are things that we consider basic. Well, they are very important. For you to grow your business, you need to network. So you always need to go out there, always show up. Collaboration is very important. They say collaboration is the new competition. So always look out for people who you can work with to fulfill your deliverables. And of course, the issue of trust. I cannot emphasize this enough. Always deliver on your promise. And of course, business is about patience, persistence, and perseverance. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Let's go. There is a question I would love to give to Donald and CEO. Mr. Karisa, it's up from Dixon and Nashivia. They are in the cashew nuts value chain, but there are complications at cross-border trade. They are giving them, they ask them ridiculous taxes. Donald, you are in the tariffs and rules of origin. Can you come in? Can you come in first? Then I will call my CEO also to supplement.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll look on the question on the two angles. First, is that is the exporter aware of the requirements needed for him or her to transfer or to export cashew nuts to the destination partner states? Because as you are aware, if cashew nuts is originating, whether in EAC, in SADC, in COMESA, or AfCFTA, that item is not supposed to pay import duties. But now, for a country like Tanzania, we understand that cashew nuts attract export levy. Apart from that, cashew nuts being a food product, I think when you are exporting, you need to have certificate, sanitary certificate. So in case you have a consignment, it reaches a border, and you have not complied with that one, definitely the importing state will not allow clearance until such time when you have complied with all the requirements. So I think we would encourage private sector manufacturers, exporters, importers to visit the trade portal where you will have the information required for you prior to actual exportation. I think ED can add more on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But also, before ED comes in, I think we will share the contact. They are saying, whom should we call when such a things happen? Whom should we call? Maybe, do we have a desk at EAC? Do we have a desk where? So I think we'll engage more and share the contacts with them. Yes. ED, would you want to come in for this question also?
Yeah, thank you, Moses. And I want to really appreciate someone who asked that question, and I think it's a pertinent question. And this is why we have this webinar. A number of SMEs, micro and informal, are struggling to get where to obtain information. Information regarding exports, export market, as well as from how to package and understand the tax requirement. So what we are trying to do, again, and EABC has been also advocating for that, the risks that is eligible under simplified trade regime should be published to all border posts. And Donald, you need to take that forward with DSG. I discussed it with the DSG in Nairobi, that for transparency purposes, we must publish the list so that the SMEs, informal, and others can have that list, and knowing how much to pay in terms of taxes, knowing how much is requirement on standards. So all the procedure, I saw it in Rwanda, in one of the border posts in Rwanda, but our view as the ABC, all border posts should have that list, qualified lists. And if it is taxes to be paid, if it is a standard levy, should all export levy should be known to exporters before exporting. And that's why we, and again, someone asked from Zanzibar. I think this is where we need to understand and work with CFTA, work with the EAC. We should understand the structure, the categories of, we should understand the structure of our traders. Some are less educated. They wouldn't be able to use these tools. So for a sophisticated monitoring mechanism regarding NTBs. And that's why this lady said, whom can I call? Do we have a number, a call line, a number to call when you are confronted with the EABC, with the NTB? Could we have like the way police does it? You can call 333 or 222. If I'm faced with an NTB and I'm eligible under the CFTA, whom can I call? Whom can I direct? If I'm unable to write under online reporting mechanism, there should be another option for me to get information. And I think we need to build, and that's my recommendation, everyone, is that we need to build a kind of an ecosystem in terms of trade information, a kind of an easy portal, not only a digital portal, but a system where all traders, informal, formal, can access information. I think that's what we need to do, and I think those are very valid questions and concerns, and I think that's why even
Thank you.
Our intra-region trade is low. Okay, Moses.
Thank you. Thank you, ED. Thank you, Mr. Donald. And I think I have a question for Ms. Gemma from Eric. And I think also Ms. Gemma, you'll comment about Teddy Sankara from the Zambia, the CEO of MSME Zambia, about empowering the informal sector. But Eric asked about media, has a media camp, sports and fundraising. What are the opportunities there on CFTA in service industry? If you can chip in, Ms. Gemma.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you for your question on the services where you raise funds for sports. Let me say that maybe I should have mentioned, I think Rose, or if it's Rose or Donald, I don't recall very well, but there has been a mention earlier that the AfCFTA has got a number of protocols. It's not only the protocol on women and youth in trade. There is already then a number of annexes, actually. There's an annex on trade in services where member states have to commit on the services sector. And I can only request Eric to acquaint himself with the annex on services. It's there on the AfCFTA website. In terms of the opportunities, it's very difficult for me at this point to say where he should look into in terms of the opportunities. But I would also encourage Eric to join the different platforms or fora that we have as the AfCFTA. I've talked about the Biashara, which is going to be happening in Rwanda in October. I've talked about the Youth Symposium, because during the Youth Symposium, creative sector is one of the sectors that are up and coming. And we do encourage the youth to explore different kind of sectors, especially the creative sector. I believe you are aware that in the past, mostly it was on goods and services was minimal. I am not, unfortunately, at this point to say you can look in this direction for the kind of business or company that you have. And then there was also a question from Teddy in Zambia. Teddy, the informal sector. What you were saying is very true about the informal sector. It's one of the key sectors. I should have mentioned during my presentation that we are working with a number of partners in different areas, on SMEs, on women, as well as on youth. I am well aware that the UNDP has got an officer in different countries that work with the informal sector. We also believe the informal sector is a very key sector. The informal sector does fall under the SMEs, and it is a very important sector. One of the things that we encourage as the AfCFTA, because we have realized that most of the businesses from the SMEs, it's either they are not registered legally or they are just informal. We encourage that even though you belong to the informal sector, you should register your business, one. Two, we also encourage that different companies, different companies under the women, the youth, and SMEs should form clusters or associations, because if it's a voice by many, it's more heard than the voice of one. There is under the UNDP that provision for the informal sector. And as I say, we do work with partners, and UNDP is one of the partners that we work with. And I do acknowledge where you say that there's a need for awareness and capacity building to sensitize the informal sector. As I said during my presentation, we are ready and available and willing to be able to participate, to be able to share the information with different entities, different organizations, to create that awareness, to build that capacity so that people are aware of what they can be able to get out of the AfCFTA or the Africa market. Nashivia, the cashew nut, said she's trading on cashew nuts, and she was asking about the payment of taxes. Nashivia, I would only inform you that under the AfCFTA, we have the Trade Facilitation Department, which is the Customs Department. And this department, they usually do cross-border visits and cross-border trading, where they want to find out the challenges that women are experiencing in their cross-border trading. And these are some of the issues that we'd like to hear, because under the protocol on women and youth and trade, there is a provision where ministers can be able to adopt ministerial regulations for any challenges that are being experienced in terms of trading. If there's any harassment, as I indicated during my presentation, that this protocol is to try and support and facilitate women who experience harassment during cross-border trading. These are some of the issues. And I would encourage you that you can link up. There is a trade facilitation under EAC, I am very certain. There is trade facilitation under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Such harassment or such unfair trade practices need to be taken to the, not only even the Chamber of Commerce. Payment of these huge taxes. I indicated about the PEP system, the Pan-African payment system that I talked about, where you can be allowed to pay in your local currency. Unfortunately, I'm not sure whether Uganda, the Central Bank of Uganda, has already onboarded on the PEP system. And lastly, It was a question from, oh, it was not a question, but a comment from Aloysius, I think. Aloysius, who was talking about UBA, the facility under UBA. And thank you so much for confirming that, because sometimes when you say it from the Secretariat point of view, it's like you are selling a story. But I'm happy that you are there to confirm that indeed there is that facility under UBA. There is that MOU that has been signed for UBA to provide financial facilitation or support to the SMEs as well as women and youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Gemma. And I also will request you will share with us that presentation. I will just take one question, two questions, one from Honesty, then another one from someone called MSC Paynet. Paynet, your question in 1 minute, then Honesty in 1 minute.
Moses.
Then we hear from, yes, Ronald.
There was a question he asked on whether one can import goods from outside the continent and enjoy the benefits of the AfCFTA.
Thank you. To that, a company. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
So on that one, the answer is no, because AfCFTA is there to promote goods which originate within the African continent. So preferential tariff treatment will only be accorded to goods which have been manufactured in the African continent. So unfortunately, on this one, if you import goods from the rest of the world, when you transfer to any state party, you'll be required to pay import duties and other taxes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donald. Sorry for chipping in. Yes, there was that question, and indeed, Donald has given a very correct answer. The AfCFTA is for trading between and amongst the African states. And as he has explained, since your trading company is registered within an Asian country, the moment the goods get into Africa, they will be definitely exposed to the tariffs that are there. So the AfCFTA is encouraging and promoting trading within and amongst the African countries. Thank you so much, Donald, for bringing that up. I should have answered that question as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald, for having that eagle's eye. It had really skipped me. Thank you, Gemma, for coming in. Just one question from Honesty. Okay, I see Lorna. Lorna, I will give you chance. Yes, I will give you chance later. Just Honesty, then MC Paynet. Just in 1 minute, then we conclude our webinar. I will give also one minute to Henry.
Hello, are you getting me? Yes, good morning. Yeah, my question is, as he has mentioned, I wanted also on the capital.
Where you come from?
Oh, my name is Honest Simulwi. My name is Honest Simulwi from Zambia, the National Youth Coordinator for Zambia, for Zamast. Now, my question is on the capital. I heard someone was mentioning to say there is a partnership with the African Development Bank. Now, I'm just requesting to say, if possible, include also the information on the website so that we maybe also get to know the steps for those who are looking for the capitals and other things, especially for equity partners, and also so that at least the information should be put on the website so that it should be very easy. Then also another question is on when we are trading, since this AfCFTA is also, the purpose is also to reduce the tariffs as well. Is there uniformity whereby if I want to export my goods to Kenya or Rwanda or Burundi, I'll be charged the same taxes or tariffs, or it just depends on the countries which I'll be taking my goods? That's my question. Thank you. Moses, you're not audible. Was I audible?
Honest, please unmute and ask a question. Thank you for that question, Payne.
Was I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I've already asked my question. If you, I don't know if I should repeat.
So your question has been attended or asked, right?
Yes. No, I'm saying, was my question clear?
Moses, I think.
All right.
I think. Can we allow Jeme to respond to the question and we conclude the webinar, Moses? Huh? In the interest of time.
Let Gemma respond while she's giving her concluding remarks. But allow me to give one minute to Dr. Henry. Dr. Henry, I called you when you were away. Just to greet us and tell us what you do at as Executive Director for Pan-African SMEs. 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Moses, and then the ES of East African Business Council, and then the AfCFTA Secretary representatives, and then not forgetting Donald for wonderful inputs. And then good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Major Henry. I'm the Director General and CEO of Pan-Africa Organization for Small and Medium-Scale Industries. When you're looking at the webinar today, we are talking how East African SMEs could reap the benefit of AfCFTA, but how we actually look at it different way. We will have been how AfCFTA and then government of Africa should support and enable SMEs to actually take their proper position in African trade. I must tell you, as it stands today, 13% in intra-African trade compared to about 60% and 40% and 30% in Europe and North America and Asia. You can say very small in intra-African trade. So, but you ask yourself, what have happened? You find out that the key element of this parity is because we do not manufacture, and that is where our organization comes in. We need to encourage value addition. We need to make sure that there's a common facility, and then there's also what we call cluster initiatives across the blocks or the RECs, and then at the continental level, and then we begin to see how the inter-African trade begin to take its rightful place, because Africa, as you see today, is a youthful population and a rich in mineral raw materials. So if we could actually articulate properly as a continent, we could become a super hub for the world to see. I think this webinar is very important, and then moving forward, we'll make sure that both informal SME, actually for me, SME is in different categories. We must look at SMEs, the small and medium scale industries. Those are focusing on value addition, because that is where we have the deficit. And then those who also have the service segment of the industrial sector. These are key elements that both the government, both AfCFTA Secretariat need to actually focus. I've seen questions coming in, but we must also make sure that in terms of, you see, looking at our members from Sierra Leone as a speaker now sitting in Abuja, Nigeria. When you look at the other persons from Sierra Leone, you find out that the border issues, there's a lot of bottlenecks. When you look at both barrier and tariff and non-tariff barriers that actually hinders trade within the continent, you see, it's a major issue. You have to look at it. How do we simplify? How do we make these processes? How do we simplify in our local languages so that SMEs and the informal sectors, who are key elements to this, be able to understand how it works? And then let there be uniformity in terms of what is happening in the East Africa. I think by my work within the SME ecosystem, I realize that East African communities have done much better than West Africa. And then I think what we need to do the AfCFTA secretary should be able to harmonize some of these differences. And then in that note, I would say, well done for a good job done for African and East African Business Council. We hope that we'll keep on engaging to make sure that SMEs are actually given the rightful place. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Henry, for those insights. And we have come to the end, and we are coming to the concluding remarks. I will start with Rose. I think Rose had something to say. Then I will call Ms. Gemma. Then our CEO will conclude for us. Then later we'll have a group photo. You will have your cameras on so that we can have a virtual photo. Rose, then followed by Ms. Gemma, then CEO.
Yes, thank you so much, Moses, for this opportunity. I will take the opportunity of my closing remarks to just highlight one of the questions that one of the participants had. If they can be able to export from outside the continent and import from outside the continent and benefit from the members of the CFTA markets. I want to say that yes, you can't be able to do that. However, I just want to advise that particular person who asked that question that there is an opportunity to invest within African countries who are party to the CFTA. For example, Kenya, any of the EAC countries, any of the West African countries, invest in terms of a factory, a manufacturing plant, or basically a facility which you will draw most of the raw materials between the African member states, and you can be able to have a product that can have access to those African member states. So if you already have a product that you feel is really convincing, or a product that is targeted at the African market, I think even if you cannot be able to import and market to the CFTA states, but you can establish within the CFTA states, source from the CFTA states and take advantage of this market. That's what I would like to advise. We do have the protocol of investment, which also facilitates the same. Over to you, Moses.
Thank you. Thank you, Loz. Donald, do you have like something like a parting shot, or it has already been covered?
No, I'm okay, Moses. Thank you.
Okay. Let me call Ms. Gemma and to give her parting shots, concluding remarks, but also maybe responding to Inet about information on the website and honesty. Karibu, you're welcome, Ms. Gemma.
Thank you very much, Moses. The question from Honesty in terms of including the information on UBA on the website. Yes, I have taken note of that question and the comment or request. Then he also had a question on tariffs. Is it the same from Burundi to Zambia as an example? There were a lot of extensive negotiations that were involved during the negotiations. If you recall earlier, it was very expensive to do trade amongst each other as African countries. And these negotiations were to try and eliminate these barriers, to try and reduce these tariffs that were existing between us as African countries. They may not necessarily be directly the same, but a lot of negotiations were to bring down the tariffs that existed between the African countries. Hence the encouragement for African countries to trade amongst each other. This was to make sure that trade amongst the African countries happens. And we did that by reducing or even elimination in some products of these tariffs. Now you can check the website for the tariff lines that exist between the different countries. And for my parting message would be to encourage the SMEs, the women and the youth to join in some of the programs and activities or initiatives that are out there under AfCFTA. We have the Guided Trade Initiative. There are a number of countries currently which are joining the Guided Trade Initiative. This is an initiative to make sure that countries are able to trade amongst each other. At first, there were only 7 countries that joined. Now, the AfCFTA is to it wants to ensure that by June, 35 countries join in the AfCFTA. And these are some of the countries that are here, Uganda, Zambia, that have been, some of whom have been making comments. Make sure that if there is any initiative or program, join under the AfCFTA. I would also encourage them to join on the Youth Symposium, join the fora that I talked about, the Biashara Africa, the Intra-Africa Trade, the Conference on Women in Trade. They should always check the AfCFTA website for any capacity building initiatives. And lastly, there are different fora where you can report the non-tariff barriers, as indicated by Nashivia earlier. All these non-tariff barriers, you can report them at the Chamber of Commerce in your own country. You can report them with the regional economic community like EAC. You can as well also report them under the AfCFTA. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I am so looking forward to interact more with the different associations out there that may need us to be able to impart some information or for capacity building or for any advice that we can be able to offer as the AfCFTA. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And check our website, as I said, for any. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Many thanks and have a great day too. Let's also now hear from our CEO, Mr. John Bosco Karisa, to officially close the webinar. But as I said, make sure you put on your camera so that we can have a group photo. To you, Mr. Karisa.
Thank you very much, Moses. And allow me first of all to thank very capable and eminent panelists, Donald from EAC, Jeme from CFTA Secretariat, our sister Rose Lona from TradeSmart, Nancy, Happiness, Charles, and our brother from Pan-African SMEs for sharing their experience and insight on how best we can reposition our SMEs to take advantage of the CFTA. Indeed, we all agree that the CFTA is a game changer and it brings enormous opportunities to our SMEs. And what is required is that we need a better business environment with the reduced trade barriers, promotion of local business across the continent, and also business expansion facilitated by cross-border investment and financial flows. I really appreciate all the openness in terms of the subject and the insight provided by our sister from CFTA Secretariat in terms of the approval of the protocol, both the youth and women protocol, as well as digital trade. So once the protocols are ready, we need to leverage that advantage. I wanted also to bring to your attention that there are 4 value chains Jeme and I mentioned that we need to take advantage. Agro-processing has been identified as one of the flagship value chain we need to work on, leverage on, and a number of SMEs falls under agro-processing. So there are enormous opportunities under UBA, and as EABC, we are going to generate from next month with the support from GIZ, Expertise France, and the EU. We'll be rolling out a program, a sensitization program, targeting SMEs on how to take advantage of the available trade facilitation instrument, as well as the financing mechanism. I'm happy we are going to do that with UBA, and I'm happy Alois from UBA Uganda. You need to partner with us and also showcase how informal business can access those financial products. And I think it is high time as the EABC, as the SMEs, and as our partners, we deepen our sensitization and awareness creation. Another sector that has been identified is pharmaceutical. Indeed, pharmaceutical presents enormous opportunities for SMEs. So that is a sector that has also been identified. The third one is automotive value chain, and we need to leverage from countries that have already developed the sector, Rwanda, South Africa, Kenya. There is a lot to supply within the automotive value chain. Then the fourth one was transport and logistics. Indeed, we cannot talk about CFTA when we don't address the issues related to transport and logistics. And we heard from Charles and others, there are enormous opportunities around the sector in terms of digitizing transport and logistics sector. So on our side, we recommend all our SMEs to visit our EABC Maisoko and ensure that you are able to showcase, post some of products and also questions. This is one of the webinar, but we'll be having a physical webinars across the region, across EAC. I think next week we'll have one in Uganda, physical one, and we'll be having across all our 8 EAC partner states. And I want to really thank our supporters, Flexim Bank, GIZ, Trademark Africa, EU Expertise France, and now UBA is coming on board. So this is the right time. This is the right time, and again, I want to assure you that EABC is there for you, and we'll continue to for all the initiatives around trade integration, especially CFTA, and we are happy that our partners, CFTA Secretariat, EAC Secretariat, are working closely with us. We also have an opportunity, and I wanted maybe we'll be sharing it with you with regard to the Institute for Export. Recently in Kenya, we have launched an Institute for Export that is going to offer tailor-made courses on how to export, how to take advantage of CFTA. So the Institute has already been launched. I'm happy, myself and Rose Runa sits on an advisory committee, and they will be introducing a number of courses on how to export